What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. I am so sorry. Yesterday I was not able to get on the watch along, and obviously the full credit to the boys with Levon, but Levon did an amazing job there, guys. Really gave away the same sort of emotion that I would have had when watching that watch along and all that. But a crazy game at the weekend, 13-12, the Doggies getting over the Warriors. And I thought I'd do this video because obviously, as I said, I had a couple of birthdays to go to yesterday. I had to miss out on those two live streams there, and I do apologize for that too, guys. I just want to give you my thoughts overall on the game, so you guys get to see my rounded out thoughts before we get to obviously our Tuesday show with All You Can Eat Warriors with me and Levon. So we can just touch on the week upcoming and all that sort of stuff, and you guys get to see my thoughts raw, unfiltered. This is not straight after the game. This is a day after too, guys. This is recorded on Sunday, so do believe that as well. So this is after a day I've watched this game over again, you know, the heartbreak and all that all over again, but a lot of key performances want to get into this, a lot of key talking points, but I just want to mainly shout out, you know, how proud I am of the boys out there to lose your complete backline and then to go through adversity with even a couple other players during the game. I'm sure that I think Dylan Walker was down with a hamstring little niggle there too for a little period. Obviously, Wade Egan got poked in the eye. He had to play with one eye for a little period there. Freddie Lussick got subbed on through the middle. Leka Lasima, shout out to Leka, incredible game. We'll talk about him a little bit more later on, but a guy that is an edge back rower that had to play front row, got pushed out to a center to end that game and almost nicked us a try to win the game. Would have been one of the best debutant tries that I've seen, but it's just incredible performance for the boys. Unfortunately, not able to get the win here against the Doggies, who are so resilient. They're so tough to beat. You know, as a lot of people know, in 13 on 13. In full strength side, they're so tough to beat. Ask the Sharkies, you know, all that sort of stuff. Like the Sharkies last week scored more tries than them, but still came away with no points in that game. Very similar things in this game. We had a lot of the stats go our way. Just unfortunately down no back line at all. You know, Montoya looks like he's going to be out for a little bit of a stint. Obviously, Dallin Martinez-Lesniak going down with a Category 1 HIA early in the game, and a chance Nickel Clockstad try to fight through a calf strain that looked a lot worse than maybe what it actually ends up being, so it could be out for a decent period. And we might talk about who could replace him for the future, because I thought Roger was incredible there, but I also thought Roger showed some really good things at center that I do want to bring up as well, even though like you could put him on a wing as well with Montoya out. There's a couple other pieces you could put Roger in, but let's go through my overall thoughts on the game. And to start off the game, I thought that we were fairly dominant. I thought that the only parts that we lacked in our game, and throughout the whole game in general, was our kicking game. Our kicking game was definitely not on tonight, that night, Saturday night at all. I thought that we were getting through our sets really strongly. Like our back line was just playing so flat, like, you know, getting over the advantage line and quick play to balls, and it just shows by the stats. Like, even though we had those boys go down, that's when we started to see the sway back into the Doggies' favor. We're holding 50-50. Even in some moments there, I thought a lot of our big forwards, key forwards, stepped up there to really take over for what usually our back line does for us from that back end. But 51% possession, we ended up getting 2,013 meters to the Doggies' 1,800, so 2,000 meters, incredible there. And we had less runs than the Dogs. So per meter, like, we did so much more from there. Our average set was 40 meters, and the average set for the Doggies was 36. And as I said, guys, this is without our back line that usually does a lot of this work. So this has happened majority throughout our season. Statistically, we have always been a very good, solid side statistically when we go out there play football, other than a couple of games this season. The Roosters game of note, the Titans game, of course, and I think the Dragons game were the three games that we've ever been beaten out on a lot of key statistics. It's just all the little things in the game, the little efforts. We were leaking a lot of tries with line breaks and stuff, and I thought we cleaned that up very well in this game. We end up leading the line break count with 4-3, limiting the Doggies for 3 line breaks was really good to see. 51 tackle breaks to 33 of the Doggies, like really good stats there as well. But it's more so the tie-in, the contact in defense. We saw that very early on in the game. We had Montoya obviously unfortunately going, getting put on report for a shoulder charge before obviously succumbing to injury and all that later on. But a really nice first contact there was a shoulder charge action. Really unfortunate they had to drag it back in that, but it just showed the feeling in this game. There was a lot of that back and forth. Even late on in this game, Viliami Kikau's shot on Freddie Lussick, which obviously happened on our man, but like it just showed like there was a lot of feeling in this game. It showed that both these systems, what they value first of all is first contact, winning the ruck, ruck. It's not so much the old school system of the Melbourne Storm system of catching, wrestling, holding up the defender and like, you know, giving time for the defense to come back. It's a whole different system. It's the way Panthers play football, is very direct, hitting hard, winning over the wrestle that way. It's more of like, you know, the first contact's got to be really strong, and that's how you win. It's the confidence booster. It's like you feel like you're the dominant force between the sides, and both these sides were trying to find that during this game. And I thought for the majority of it, we found the better end of that. Unfortunately, you know, the 2 tries coming off the Doggies, the intercepts and a try off a kick, I can concede those. They're fine. Like, that is what it is. It showed that we didn't get beat by any, like, you know, any proper play out the back. There was a couple of times out of their back end where we were down on limited numbers that they ended up beating us on the outside. But a lot of that times we were covering really well as well. So a lot of amazing signs. The only thing I could really touch on in this game that really hampered us was our kicking game. And like, you know, I'm surely everyone will point out that was probably one of the worst kicking performances from both our halves there. And unfortunately, that is what Shawnee does bring to the side. But I'm not saying that we should go back to Shawnee. I'm not playing that whole narrative, because at the moment, I do believe that at the moment, Tamade Martin and Chino Harris-Tavita are our best 6 and 7 right now, because Shawnee's currently injured. And we just saw that the effort and, like, you know, I think Tamade's run first and then play, you know, he's a gunslinger, he gives a lot of energy, really helps with the side playing football, playing on the front foot sort of football, where I felt like Shawnee, because he was hampered with injury for a majority of the season, he ran through the set play just to run through the set play. He didn't really play second option off that. He didn't really come off his right foot, direct running, that sort of thing. That's what opened up a lot of Tamade's stuff, is Tamade can run really deep into the line and play out the back or play short, and it really opens up our attack. So I'm not saying that at all, but this is the difference between some of the halfbacks and that, and this is something that Tamade will need to grow into, and I'm sure that he will over time. I think his strike of the ball's not too bad. There's a couple of moments where he gets it off the side of the boot and that sort of stuff. It's just some of the kick decisions in there. Obviously, it's a variable kicking game comparatively to our bombs to the corner and all that, but it's just still, some of the options just weren't there. Some of the grubbers in behind, they just weren't really happening. It happened very early on in the game. It looked very nice, like when we were in the attacking position and that, but there was a couple of options that weren't really on. The crossfield kick, I can't remember if it was Chanel or Tamade off the top of my head right now recording this video, but that one where, unfortunately, it looked like, you know, Montoya was coming down with the injury anyway, so he wasn't going to overchase there, but just wasn't the option. It was too deep. It didn't really pull up on the line, is where a halfback usually tries to kick, like a try line, but it came into the dead ball line. But I don't want anyone to hamper on too many negatives, because I thought the boys played really, really solid out there for the majority of the game. I thought the Doggies, the only way they kept in this game, like mainly, was off the back of Matty Burton's long kicking game. It wasn't a tremendous long kicking game in this game. He had a couple of big moments with a Birdo bomb, but just the simplicity of just the simple kick he puts up in the corner really gets those corner sets running for the Doggies, and their defensive line just really holds in, and they really buy into the whole thing of their defense really wins them games, and they've proven it. So this is the thing, is like, our defense could have won this game as well. Hopefully we do take all the positives out of this game and really run out to the rest of the season after, you know, this unfortunate loss. But we got a bye to regroup, to really show the boys all the best areas of this game, which was our defense. It's the first time now, the back-to-back games, where I felt like, bang, like, you know, it's going to be really, really good. Like Tamade, for some reason, maybe the balance of the side was like our attack running the way it is. We run hot in attack, and it really feeds into our defense to have, like, be fresher and just work with that. Also want to tie it into a key member that I really do think that is stepping up to becoming our captain. And I think there's a lot of key reasons why he maybe re-signed with the club, and maybe there's some like underlying things going on here. So unfortunately, Tohu Harris coming out of this game to start the game, he wasn't able to play due to a wrist injury. So we had to reshuffle that. Obviously, I felt like it was going to be a reshuffle anyway with Dylan Walker coming into that 13 role, but Tohu Harris obviously going down with a chronic wrist injury. Apparently, Webby came out and said it's something he's been dealing with for a while now. We've been kind of managing it, but it might be a little bit of time now where he needs to take some rest off and see really where it comes out when he comes back. And they don't really have a timeline on when he comes back. There's a little bit of that throughout our whole squad in general overall, but I think there might be a little bit more here, to where I think Mitch Barnett is starting to really take a massive leadership role. And I think we've all noticed it as Warriors fans. I think, you know, the big key game that really shows it is the Titans game. Like, obviously he wasn't the sole issue of, like, I think there was, like, you know, there's still like 18 players, 17 players we ran out there with that didn't perform on that day. And someone needed to take accountability and leadership in that game. But more so than not, whenever Mitch Barnett's on that football field, whether he's playing edge back row or he's playing in the middle, I think when you have someone there that has, like, you know, will get into people's people's faces, be like, listen, I want full effort into you. Sort of the way me and the bro are talking about, Warrior Hargreaves and, Fisher Harris's of the world. Like, stats wise, Barney's stats are incredible too. This is not saying that Barney's not a stat filler as well, but it's not about the stats and those sort of guys. It's more about the intimidation factor or also the standard setters. So it's really hard to put yourself out of line when you got Warrior Hargreaves looking at you and going like, are you putting 100% effort? It's the same thing with Fisher Harris. And I think we've got something very similar here with Mitch Barnett. And that's why I'm really excited for next year as well. I'm not looking too far into next year because I still honestly do believe that we have a proper chance to make into the top 8 this year. And we'll talk about that a little bit later on as well. But when we have someone like Mitch Barnett in our side that looks like he like directly just sets out with the boys like, you're putting 100% effort like I am. And like, he's showing it with his numbers as well. It's really hard for someone to take a back foot step there too and just say like, I'm not going to put in effort tonight. When you got this guy in the middle, that's an absolute maniac running for 226 meters in this game, like 89 post contact. He played absolutely out of his skin. How many tackles did he make in this game? He made 54 tackles, only missed 2 in this game. That is our absolute leader in the middle. I know we have an absolute juggernaut as in Adam Fanor-Blake, but what I've noticed with Ads is he's very much like a star piece. A lot of like, if you look at soccer, you got certain pieces that like people add on top of it and just be like, a lot of debate on like Phil Foden in Manchester City is he was more of a like an added piece. He's not the cog to make everything going. Like, obviously Kevin De Bruyne was the cog to make it all go. And then when you got like a Phil Foden, that's the stat guy, or like he looks real fancy, but it's only when everything's going front foot. He's sort of changed that narrative now. But Adam Fanor-Blake is very similar on that. When everything goes really, really well, and I think it's more so the fact of like, being around a squad, a winning squad, is really easy to like get your numbers up and all that. But I don't think he's that type of guy that when everything goes really bad, he looks at everyone and goes like, I want to do this. I think he takes individual accountability and he doesn't give it to a team accountability. I think it's 2 different things. It's not bashing Adam at all. He still ran for decent meters and all that, and his actions show it. But I think that Barney has that extra step of like looking deeply into people's eyes and saying, no, like you're going to do this. Like we're a team and we're in this together. Where I feel like Ads is that extra piece now of like, when everything goes well, he's going to run for 219 meters, 94 post contact, and like, play on the front foot. And he's that added piece where everything's going wrong. I think Mitch Barnett just pulls everyone aside and goes, nah, this is what you're doing. And that's a captain. And I think there might be a little thing going on here where I'm not saying Tohu's getting pushed out of the club or anything at all, but I think that Tohu's limited minutes, a little bit of moments, I think we're giving all the respect of naming him on the stat sheet with on the team list as a captain. But I honestly do believe, like, whether that captaincy is on Tohu Harris or not, I really do believe our captain on that football field is Mitch Barnett. And I really appreciate having him at the club. When we first signed him, I was really excited to see him come over because I knew he was an absolute lunatic, and I love those sort of players for the Warriors. It brings that, like, that energy the Warriors used to have that I loved about the Warriors is we used to bash up on blokes and people had to fly home from Auckland, with ice all over you and all that sort of stuff. Mitch Barnett is that exact same sort of piece of player, but he's also, just the way he talks, way he's so intimidating as a figure overall in the middle. Like, you're going to hit hard. He's going to turn up every minute. It's certain players that Webby's trying to really put into this club that, we're seeing it with Kurt Capewells that, again, like stats-wise, he did really well in this game. I think probably his best stats game in this one. I felt like it may be his best game overall. But the one thing about, obviously, Kurt Capewells is a lot of stuff that people don't usually see. It's the cover tackles. It's the working hard in defense. He might miss the first tackle, but he'll be there for the second. And he always pops up in little moments. Mitch Barnett's got that in spades. There's a lot of other key pieces like that. Roger Tuivasa-Sheck was very similar like that back in his day. And that's why I've loved Roger in center is he does all the little things at center that's like, gets spotlighted. But all the attacking pieces in his center obviously is not going his way when he gets like proper ball on the outside. But all the other stuff that like I can handle, if you're a good defensive center and do all that sort of work, I don't care really. Obviously, I want you to be an attacking phenom as well, but if you're not going to be the incredible attacking phenom, I'll take you a 500k Roger Tuivasa-Sheck that's going to defend his ass off and shut down a lot of good attack down that side because he cuts out so much space. Mitch Barnett's another one of those players, you know what I mean? He's very much our leader for the future, and I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up being our captain next year or even like he shows a captaincy for the rest of this year, and that's the reason why he may be re-signed. He's obviously loving the club. He's got a Blues jersey now. He's stepping up in big moments. He could definitely be a leader for our future. And even when Fisher Harris comes over, obviously, he's the captain of the Kiwis and all that. But I think the co-captaincy or a leadership group of him and Mitch Barnett and that will be really, really solid for our squad in the future. So shout out to Mitch Barnett. Incredible game from him. Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, obviously, he started off the game. I thought he had a really great start at that centre role. Had his probably first proper attacking show there on that real tip-on play for Dallin Martinez-Lesniak, showed that he can play in that position. I would also big note that I really do think that he's preferably a right side player. I really do think that, especially in the center position. I think that he's a better left to right passer than he is a right to left passer. That's just from like watching him in the past and that, but he had some really good moments in the game early on, just unfortunately had to get moved again from that center position to fullback, but still ended the game with amazing numbers. I know that one big error off the kick was really unfortunate, but like, you know, even though he still had a cracker of a game, 269 meters, 106 post contact meters, just does all the work, you know, 2 line break assists, a try assist, like really, really solid knock there from Roger Tuivasa-Sheck getting back into this lineup. Shout out to Chance Nickel-Costa trying to fight through the calf injury there, showed the heart of a warrior. Unfortunately, just didn't really, you know, wouldn't have helped him having him out there to finish out the game. But 76 meters in his first stint, like really, really solid first little stint there. And even like though, like I'll add into like, you know, Mratani Kore, incredible game. Wade Egan to fight through adversity, incredible game. Dylan Walker was absolutely on fire in this game. I thought, you know, he started really well and it didn't really take a back foot step. He's still carrying a whole lot of niggling injuries. You can just see that on him. Like, you know, when he gets in big tackles, those sort of moments, he's carrying them. But 159 meters through the middle, 62 post contact, but it's more his foot speed and the way he links up plays, good footy IQ. He knows when to pass, knows when not to pass. He doesn't really get it wrong too many times. 33 tackles and 3 missed tackles. So really, really solid knock from a lot of those boys. But I want to finish off like Jason Tavanga, incredible. Jackson Ford, when he came on, did some solid numbers. Freddie Lussick playing in the middle. Let's talk about the young kid off the boo. The guy I've been mainly like, I've been going crazy. This is the guy that out of everyone that everyone's been pointing out, you know, the Jacob Labens, the Sifakulas, like all the young kids that are coming through our grade that everyone's so excited for, the Zion Ma'us, like Tanner Styles Smiths, like all these boys that I'm like, everyone's really, really excited for. This is the one that I pointed out at when he played SG ball, and I'm like, this is kid's got to be like, his future is incredible. If you didn't see his highlights before this, guys, I recommend you go onto YouTube, check his highlights. He's got like a Jeremiah Nenai skill set, but with the aggression and the ability of like tackle breakability, just running straight and hard. And we saw that in this game. First run off the ruck, playing front row in the middle, not even playing his normal edge role, which I felt like had to come down to a lot of the big changes happening in our squad with like players like Catewell having to go to the edge, and we had to fill in spaces left, right, and center. He came on from the middle, first run, bang. I'm pretty sure it was off Reed Marnie or Bailey Hayward. Boom, straight over the top. Shows that beautiful bumper bar actions. He runs so like he's smaller to the ground, but he has just a really good like run technique. You know, everything's in tight. Has that nice push off. So powerful at the upper body, bumps over the top of that, and then like later on in the game, as I said, playing in his center position. He's got the ability to play center, but majority he's an edge back rower from everything I've seen. But again, I said like, you know, seeing this, we probably didn't go wrong there putting him at center. I thought, you know, defensively he did fairly well there. There was a couple of moments he got skimmed on the edge, but he actually fought to every inch. Like that one moment where Blake Wilson threw the ball back on the inside. When he got burned on the edge, he covered, and he was the one holding the jersey of Wilson before letting go, and someone else cover tackle, which caused the error there from Wilson to, well, I think 30 seconds left in the game that moment. So a big moment there. Defensively, he'll hold in now. I think he missed a couple of tackles, but if he can cover like that, incredible. I thought contact-wise, he was incredible in attack as well, but that one play just shows how special he is. That one moment we saw he can do this. If you go see the North Sydney Bears, you know, highlight, hitting 2 guys that were so close in the right, bang, just straight through and powering through. Lecker on the edge, bang, powering through, but the speed he had on that edge and the cutback and inside on Connor Tracy, who's a fairly good defensive fullback or utility player, cuts back on the inside of him. Just really unfortunate that obviously Bronson Sherry came for a second effort from the edge, came around the outside, bang, beautiful hold up tackle. And again, shout out to the Doggies. This is what they built their season on, and that was an amazing tackle on someone that had the advantage there. The momentum was going, he was running straight. Like I've seen a lot of those moments, like players falling off those tackles and like players getting over. If that happened, we would have won this game. I do believe that wholly and solely. I believe we would have finished it out with that game because I felt like our defense was rock solid for the most of it. But like a massive, massive moment there from Lekar Lasima. Incredible. Finished the game 107 meters, 29 post contact. And this is on a 36-minute stint too, guys. So do remember this. It's not a 4-minute stint. So he cracked the 100-meter mark. A lot of people do struggle with that, even with a full game. You know, like that's incredible. 29 post contact. He had the massive line break there. You know, 4 tackle breaks. Just incredible through there. And as I said, defensively, you know, he had a couple of moments, like 9 tackles with 4 missed. But again, it wasn't too noticeable. Like not every missed tackle is like going to be a bad missed tackle. There's a lot of moments like that. If you look at Reed Marnie on the other end, he ended up the game with close to 70 tackles in this game. He probably would have missed a fucking shit ton of it. But what Reed Marnie does is get up in the face, and he's got energy. He plays with that. Like, you know, you missed the first tackle, he's gonna go for the second. Missed 4 tackles as well out of that. Like, that's a crazy knock from him. But incredible first debut from Lekar Lasima. Guys, this is only like just touching the surface of this. I would recommend everyone just to settle down and say, like, if he's out of lineup next week, I don't know, like, honestly, I think Webby's just trying to wean these guys in. We don't want to break these guys well too soon. We're not a side right now. We got a lot of experience. Like, I know there's going to be a lot of injuries coming into our next lineup, which we'll talk about, you know, maybe on all you can eats and all that sort of stuff. But we need to understand that these guys have so much talent, but we need to harness this and really develop them properly. We can't chuck them in way too early. There's a lot of moments. I know he'll step up to the stage and he'll play amazing for 1 or 2 games, but I just don't want that media cycle where he drops the ball a couple of times and has those up and down games that people will start looking at him as an inconsistent player, because as soon as you get labeled that, it's really hard to shake that title. So shout out to Lekar. He's going to be incredible talent for the future. He's an aerial threat as well, guys. That's why I give him the Jeremiah Nenai sort of look at that. If you go see his highlights, you will see it out there. But his footwork, his speed, but his tackle break ability, like, he is someone special for the future. And the more he's going to play, the more, like, you know, even with the boys in Cup, like Sifa Coolers, the Jacob Labans, the Tedder Star Smith, the Zion Ma'uz, when we get all these boys together and playing together in Cup, they had a disappointing loss on the weekend, but when we get them all together and playing good football and really learn the combinations of each other, they will come up into grade all together, and they will be the next generation of the Warriors. And I hope you guys are excited for that, because that's why I do believe that this is not just a 1-season thing. This is not a 2nd season thing. I know it may look like right now we may miss the finals, but do understand that this club is changing for the better. Our development's all there. Our development pieces are staying at New Zealand, which is really good to see. Lekker's signed on to 2027. He's got time to develop, but I do believe that you'll start seeing maybe more and more of him in the future, because the talent is just undeniable. Like, he's incredible out there. Also too, guys, you know, just touching on a couple other things. So really looking at, like, just the NRL in general, how tight the competition is. And I know a lot of the comment section, like, you know, everyone out there says we need to get 13 wins to get into the top 8. I would agree. Like, we need to aim for that mark. And I think we will need to lose only 1 more game now for the rest of the season. It's going to be a big ask from the boys, but I do believe we can do that. But to add on back of that, there has been seasons in the past, and I would add you to jump over here, that there has been seasons in the past where you don't need to get 13 wins. And I know a lot of people will bring up those 27 rounds, and these ones, obviously, you know, there's less teams and all that, but we've seen 10 wins here. We've seen 12 wins here against the 8. These are 50-50s and unders. A lot of these had to be majority because these 2 teams are absolutely killing it. Even these 4 teams here are absolutely killing the start of the season. And when you look at our ladder currently right now, everything's a log jam. See, if you like top to bottom, I know it's a worry when you see the Warriors here on 14th, but if you take away the bye points, we're actually sitting around that 9th, 10th, 11th range. We're sitting right around where the Broncos and Knights and all that are. And with the point differential of, you know, minus 32 doesn't really help us, but we are above the Knights in that differential. So we just got the same sort of ability with the Knights and the Broncos. So if we win a couple of games there, we got a bye period coming up. So that as soon as those 2 points come in there, we jump above, you know, the Rabbitohs, the Raiders. So we get into that 19-point range, so that jumps us above there. I think the Knights still got to play this weekend, so they're the only big worry, and maybe the Raiders, I'm pretty sure, have a game this weekend too, so just watch out for that. I'll just double check that while I'm here. So yeah, Knights and Raiders, they play each other, so one of those teams are either going to get 2 points or not, so they'll probably jump into that 20 range. So we'll have to see how it goes at the end of the season here. You got teams like the Broncos that are in the same boat as us, that have a ton of injuries, or a ton of key player injuries that have hampered their season as well. and probably need a bit more of it. Like, there's a little bit of talking point in the media spin around them. They've really fallen off, but they're doing a 5-game losing streak. That's worse than our 5-game losing streak. I know we lost to a lot of really bad opponents in those periods there, but the Broncos, again, like they lost to the Titans where they had a must-win game there as well. There's a lot of like key similarities with a lot of these teams, the Broncos, the Knights, and the Warriors, like, even the Rabbitohs too. Like a lot of these big teams that were there, a lot of these other teams are really stepping up this season. So it's going to be a really tight finish. But what I am just saying to you guys here is, I wouldn't be surprised if a 50-50 sort of look, and then it comes down to differential, will end up deciding this ladder here, especially with our bye point. A lot of these other teams there, like even though Seagulls got the win over the weekend, I thought they were very up and down in that game. The Cowboys as well, they had so many opportunities to win that game, but they're 9 wins. So really, with a couple of byes, they're back up in this discussion up here. Like, it's a really, really close ladder. And with our run that we have running home, if we play like we did against the Doggies, just clean up our kicking game, that's the main thing I want to touch on now, because our defense in that game is exactly where I want it to be for every other game for the rest of the season. I thought our intent was there, our contact was on, and we can show we can play consistency on that. But if you look at our run for the rest of the season, guys, we got obviously a big game against the Raiders at GIO. We show we can go over the top of the Raiders, and Raiders have been inconsistent this season. The Tigers are starting to find form in the moment, so they're going to be a tough little side to come up against, even in Auckland. Even the Eels, top to bottom, their lineups are a lot better than what they show at the moment, but we got the home advantage as well, so hopefully we get over the top of the Eels. We should be able to, if we are a better team, we play the football that we have and we know. The Dolphins, also another tough ask at Suncorp. I can't wait. I'm going to be going to that game, and then running into the rest of the rounds here. You got the Seagulls, you got the Doggies. We bring them back at home, and we're going to show them at home. That's going to be the big one. The Seagulls games is a big one I'm going to worry about, because at Four Pines Park, that is a fortress for Manly, but they've been very up and down this season, so we'll have to see how that one plays out. And then the PointsBet game at the Sharkies. So there's a couple of moments here we end up losing our season. I can understand a lot of people worrying about that, but I also could see if we played a lot of the effort that we played in this game here, and even with the Broncos game here with a 32-point victory, I do think that we can get the win more so than not to majority of these teams on the run home. So I wouldn't be too worried. Again, with a record of 12-12, well, even that, we need 11-12 actually, because we got the draw from the start of the season has really hampered us. But we have an opportunity. We still have an opportunity. There's still feeling around the club. If we play the way we did and think, on the weekend, we can change everything around and it'll go to our future. But that's about it, guys. 26 minutes and counting. I appreciate all you guys tuning in. As I said, I felt like I needed to make a video because you obviously didn't get to see me on the weekend. You wanted to see my thoughts on that. But overall, shout out to the Doggies. I understand, a lot of people are going to call the penalty call on, Tamati Martin and Jamin Salmon. Even though that I believe that was a late tackle, I don't believe the contact was too bad. It was a head clash. I believe those sort of things as accidents, but I believe it was a little bit of late contact. I would have taken a penalty, but throughout the rest of that game, we had all the opportunities to win that game. I do honestly believe we had the majority of the winning opportunities in that game. Just really unfortunate we weren't able to finish on those, and I believe that we get ourselves in a better position more so than not that we are able to finish on those as well. So shout out to the Dogs. They showed why the Dogs are a top 5 team at the moment, mainly on all the effort areas. I felt like that it didn't play their best attacking football. A lot of other big areas in that game where they should have probably beat us by a little bit more with all our players out, of Chauncey out back, Dallin out back, Montoya out back. We had a complete backline just filling out with middle forwards. To have us compete like that against the Dogs, incredible for the Doggies, just showing that you guys still have that grit in your lineup. The old school Doggies would have lost that. And I think that's the best thing for Doggies fans, is looking at it as what you've grown from. And for us is looking at getting back to where we were before. And that was the first step of us getting back to where we were before. We had a good win against the Broncos. That one, I know we took it as a loss, but the resiliency, the effort, all those key areas that I hope Webby is really honing in on and saying this will win us football games. And I hope you guys don't take away of we lost that game and throw it all out. I don't think it will happen. I think the guys will take a lot of confidence out of this game, that we're down with all these men. We had the majority of the moments in that game, and we possibly could have won that game in so many big moments. But just unfortunately, this is the way that football works. This is the way that sports works. It's so cruel. It's how tight margins are. We've had so many of these games to start the season. We started the game we won the Sharkies game to start the season, we wouldn't be in this position. If we won the Storm game to start the season, we wouldn't be in this position. We showed so many good moments in those games, but unfortunately didn't come out the other end. The Manly game as well, if we end up pulling that out of the fire, we could have been in a better position. There's so many turning points in the season to where, like, it could have been 1-1 loss. We could have been back in. Like, even when we were on that 4-game losing streak, we had a couple of games there where the Titans game and the Knights game where we had all the better opportunities later on in that game to win that game and pull it out of the fire as well. You know, the Knights game, you know, with that Dallin Martinez-Lesniak, that penalty try or whatever you want to call it, we had moments there even after that. You know, RTS getting pulled back. We had so many tries getting pulled back due to little things. The biggest thing for our season at the moment seems to be our cohesion, and our finishing is just not there at the moment. And it's because of all the injuries in our lineup. And we just showed that again this weekend. But what we did show this weekend is that we're not going to replicate the Titans game again with all those boys there that are playing with that effort that we saw in that football field. So hopefully they continue that on for the rest of the season. If you guys enjoy this content, please make sure you like and subscribe for more content on Bars Up TV. Hopefully bring you all the great content. Appreciate you guys. Have a good weekend. Up the Warriors as always, guys. Take it easy.